This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Good day, I'm Elena Rust. The county's secret witness program offering a reward of up to $16,000 for information that will solve the disappearance of Bakersfield 3 member Baylee Despot. Reported missing in 2018, Despot has not been found despite exhaustive efforts by sheriffs and police investigators, according to police in a recent news release. Despot, Micah Holsenbake, and James Kolstad became known as the Bakersfield 3, acquaintances who either died or went missing within 2 months of each other in 2018. But the public still wants to know if Despot is a victim and or a suspect. She remains charged with torture, murder, and other offenses in the death of Micah Holsenbake. She disappeared shortly after his death. Her co-defendant and ex-boyfriend, Matthew Queen, was convicted in May of murder and dozens of other offenses and sentenced to 82 years to life in prison. Kolstad was killed in a shooting unrelated to the death of Holsenbake and the disappearance of Despot. Now, she is described as white, 5 feet 7 inches tall, 110 pounds, with green eyes and shoulder-length brown hair. Anyone with information on her whereabouts is asked to call the secret witness line at 322-4040. And officials say they have arrested a high-risk sex offender featured on Kern's Most Wanted. 36-year-old Francisco Zapata was arrested yesterday in San Jacinto on a viewer tip. We featured him in our partnership with the U.S. Marshal's Office on June 16th. Officials say he has a criminal history that includes grand theft, burglary, assault with a deadly weapon, rape with force, lewd and lascivious acts with a child, failure to register as a sex offender, and numerous drug-related offenses. Well, a woman was hit and killed by a driver in central Bakersfield early this morning. The BPD says it happened around 5:15 a.m. in the area of California Avenue and N Street. Police say the driver who hit the woman stayed to talk to officers, and they say drugs and alcohol do not appear to be factors. And attorneys announced today they are ready to go to trial in the case of a Tehachapi woman who shot and killed her ex after confronting him over his alleged molestation of her teenage daughter. Wendy Howard is charged with first-degree murder in the death of Kelly Reese Pitts, who was shot multiple times on June 5, 2019, outside of her home on Appaloosa Court. Howard told police Pitts arrived at her house to drop off his grandson. They argued, and she says he drove over her foot with a quad. She told police she felt threatened, so she pulled a gun and shot him. The trial is scheduled to begin August 29th. And a 67-year-old Bakersfield man was convicted yesterday of raping and killing 2 women in the 1980s. Officials say it's the first case in Los Angeles County that used investigative genetic genealogy. Jurors found Horace Van Valtz guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. He killed 22-year-old Mary Dugan on June 9, 1986 in Burbank. He was also convicted of killing 20-year-old Selena Coe in July of 1981 in Montclair. Well, happening this weekend, the California Living Museum bringing back their annual ice cream zoofari, so you and the zoo animals can enjoy a chilled treat together. The event happening from 4:30 to 7 p.m. tomorrow, with several ice cream booths on hand where you can build your own sundaes, get a root bear float. You can also sponsor a Zoosicle ice cream for some of the animals to enjoy. They're already working on those today. The bears receive their Zoosicles at 5 p.m. tomorrow, the equine at 6 p.m., and the mountain lion bobcats will get theirs at 7. There will also be games, free train rides, live music. Adults can get in for $15. Tickets for kids aged 3 to 12 are $12, with a reduced price for call members. And head over to the Buena Vista Museum of Natural History for a special presentation on our Sierra Nevada mountains. Geologist Tim Elam will host an overview of the geologic features of California's 400-mile-long change of uplands and associated foothills with valleys that have formed the backbone of our state. A short discussion of the California Gold Rush will also be included. The museum says no geologic background is necessary to enjoy this discussion. It's happening at 1:30 tomorrow. They say there will be no extra charge for attending the event, just the normal museum entrance fee. And the Pull It Off Foundation hosting a back-to-school giveaway tomorrow afternoon. That's happening at Mill Creek Church on S and 16th Streets downtown from 12:30 to 3:30. Organizers will be handing out backpacks, school supplies, clothes, and shoes. They also say there will be some bounce houses and more fun to celebrate the start of school. Plus, happening this weekend just to our south, it's the 41st Wings Over Camarillo Air Show. This year's theme is Women in Aviation. The air show includes aerobatic performances, a classic car and motorcycle show, plus a display of vintage and present-day military aircraft. That show tomorrow and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Camarillo Airport. Air show performances begin each day at noon, and admission is $30 for adults, $20 for active military, $10 for kids ages 6 to 16.
Hello, this is Tim Callahan with Clinica Sierra Vista, and we're excited to unveil the Community Health Center of the Future, our comprehensive care center. It's located right across the street from Memorial Hospital. We have every service under one roof, from family medicine, OB/GYN care, dental services for adults and children, behavioral health, and much more. So find your way to better care at Clinica Sierra Vista this year at our comprehensive care center. Visit our website, clinicasierravista.org, for the latest on this project. We'll see you soon.
Well, around the state, Death Valley National Park's most popular sites will reopen to the public tomorrow, 2 weeks after monsoonal thunderstorms led to devastating flash flooding. But the National Park Service cautions visitors should still expect delays and some continuing road closures. Locations that will reopen include the Furnace Creek Visitor Center, Badwater Basin, Zabriskie Point, and Mesquite Sand Dunes. Access to the park will be limited to State Route 190 and Panamint Valley Road. Visitors should plan ahead and don't rely on your GPS because the other paved roads will remain closed for repairs and the backcountry roads are still being assessed. Well, now to the coronavirus. Instagram and Facebook have suspended Children's Health Defense for repeated violations of policies on COVID-19 misinformation. The nonprofit, led by Robert Kennedy Jr., is regularly criticized by public health advocates for its misleading claims about vaccines and the COVID-19 pandemic. Kennedy objected to his group being kicked off, but under Facebook and Instagram's policies, anyone can be suspended indefinitely if they repeatedly spread potentially harmful misinformation. Kennedy himself remains active on Facebook, though he was kicked off of Instagram last year. Both platforms are owned by parent company Meta. So let's take a look at the latest COVID-19 case numbers here locally, as Kern County Public Health updated their dashboard this morning to reflect 1,011 new positive cases, but no new deaths. State data shows we have 82 patients hospitalized with the virus in Kern County and 16 listed in intensive care units. Now to some other health headlines. Governor Gavin Newsom yesterday announced a $4.7 billion effort to increase access to mental health services for young people. The Master Plan for Kids' Mental Health is aimed at helping young Californians up to age 25. The funding creates new virtual platforms and establishes a pipeline to add 40,000 new mental health workers in the state and provide $20,000 scholarships for counselors who will commit to work in schools for 2 years. Newsom's visit comes as schools across the country scramble to address pandemic-related anxiety and depression among children. Well, now to business news. Bakersfield's long-awaited Cracker Barrel is set to open its doors on Monday. Cracker Barrel held a ribbon-cutting ceremony this morning to commemorate the grand opening. One man may be more excited than most for the opening of this 667th location. His name is Ray Yoder, and he is a Cracker Barrel legend.
I just follow Cracker Barrel just because I've gone to all of them and I want to continue as long as I can keep going.
You've been to every Cracker Barrel?
Yes, that's open.
And okay, so Ray's expert advice, try the meatloaf. Cracker Barrel executives also presented a $10,000 donation to the Central California Food Bank at today's ceremony, and we'll have more on Cracker Barrel's opening and, of course, Ray's journey tonight on 17 News at 5. Now to some tech news. For the first time in history, Americans spent more of their television viewing time streaming content on services such as Netflix, YouTube, and HBO Max than they did watching cable television. That's according to new data from Nielsen, which said streaming in the U.S. captured 34.8% of viewership in July. Cable accounted for 34.4%. Broadcast television a distant third. Apparently, viewers spend a lot of time watching new seasons of Netflix's Stranger Things and Hulu's Only Murders in the Building. And And Apple's latest security update was easy to miss, but security experts are warning that everyone should update any Apple device they have immediately. Apple said this week there are serious security vulnerabilities for iPhones, iPads, and Macs that could potentially allow attackers to take complete control of these devices, and the issue may have already been actively exploited. So there's an easy fix. Just click Software Update on your Apple phone, computer, or tablet.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.